back to the basics a little bit today, and we're going to dive in and
Net once lost exceed the available margin.
A little bit slower than everything else. It's just
All right, guys, my screen is not pulling up, but it's showing that it's live, so hopefully it is. Welcome, everyone. Oh, shoot. I don't see anything either. Yeah, I did. It should come up now, hopefully. Maybe. Oh, my goodness. I'm giving myself a solid D plus on this one for today. All right, is it showing up for anybody? See my picture? Okay, awesome. All right, well, we'll work on TikTok here momentarily as we do and such, but we'll go ahead and get started. Want to take a quick minute here to welcome everyone to Futures Training. Sorry about all the glitches. We'll figure this out. I give myself a solid D minus for today on the technology side of things. It will become routine at some point. I want to take a quick second to just let everybody and make sure everyone's aware that American Dream Trading and anyone associated with us are not financial, tax, or investment advisors. Everything we discuss is for training and education purposes only, and you should not use real money while trading. So, again, welcome all of you out in social land. Like I said, we're going to get started here. Please excuse the delay. We do have some promotions going on here as well within American Dream Trading. I will run through those here momentarily. But again, wanted to welcome all of you. And like I said, please excuse the delay. Let me find what our promos are for today. As always, we have recurring revenue for the 30% recurring revenue for all products and services that are offered. So please, have your friends join, have them come along. I know I have several people. I'd give them special shout outs to Chris and Mike, who have been following my journey since the beginning and have been dabbling in now futures and stocks and options. And so I'm grateful for all the extra support out there. Also for my parents who watch this every day, which is kind of weird. But I love having you guys be a part of my journey as well. And then another special shout out to my daughter. Today is her 12th birthday. She likes to watch Mob Chart. So we will do all the fun things for her later this evening. So again, everybody who comes in here, what? Oh yes, she will be really excited to hear people say that. She is a social butterfly, something that I love. To continue on with the different memberships and current promotions that are out there. Looks like today we have if someone buys a VIP Gold Complete, you get 1500 it's 1500 per year. If someone buys a VIP Lifetime, you get 15. Oh wait, that's the recurring revenue. So I would encourage everybody to go to American Dream Trading to check out the revenue side of how that 30% works. And then today's I know I saw it before I moved screens, the promotions that are for today. Let me see if I can find it real fast. Got the super sale that was yesterday. It's somewhere here. I'll find it momentarily. We'll come back to that. We'll go ahead and get started. I'm just failing on all avenues today. This is beautiful. So this morning, with the premium group, we covered a couple topics and then we just sat in the charts, and I think we're going to do that live today the same way. we are having trouble with Zoom audio, so anybody on Zoom who asks a question or answers it, I'll help relay the message. So just be mindful of that today, and I'll work out those kinks later. Somebody yesterday mentioned, what do we do when we journal? So we'll cover journaling today before we just go dive into the charts. I encourage anyone on the social media platforms to holler out if they see anything on the future side, anything that's a good scalping opportunity, something you'd like us to take a look at and review, and same with the 2-minute EWO. So I encourage you all to chime in, and then anyone on the Zoom, just let me know, and I'll relay it to the group as well, and we'll pull it up on the charts and look at it. So today we're going to cover what we journal. So we discuss heavily as part of our rules that we need to journal every day. What we're getting in and out of, and how it affects us. Both in the professional aspect and then the emotional aspect that goes along with that. So we'll cover what that looks like. So I have 7 different pieces to my journal that I pay attention to when I get in and out of, in this case, any future contract. So if I'm going to use NQ as an example, I traded NQ today, and I did it during the beginning of the U.S. market this morning, so the open market. And so what I would do when I journal is I would write down the ticker. In addition to that, I would write something along the lines of what did I see and why am I entering? So when you're getting into a trade, you need to be able to write down what you're seeing. So before you ever get in, you should know where your entry point is going to be or where you'd like your entry point to be, and you need to have your exit strategy already in place. So you'll want to write that down. You'll make a note, for example, if it broke a trend, or if it broke a double top or a triple bottom, or double top, double bottom, or triple top, triple bottom, whatever, or if it broke a critical level. So you'll make notes there too. The next thing I will write down is, did I execute the trade correctly? And I will make a note. Typically, I'll always make a note whether it's a positive or a negative. I typically know when I get in and out of something that I'm going to have a pretty good execution, unless someone throws an order in that causes the trade to go the opposite direction I was hoping it would go. And in that case, I would write that in my journal because it'll be a learning opportunity for me for later. The next thing I'd pay attention to is, how did the trade go? So was it in my favor? Was it not? I'll make a note of that. The next thing I'll pay attention to is, how did you feel before, during, and after trade? So a lot of times I'm getting in when I get into a trade, I'm paying attention to my position size. I'm paying attention to how it made me feel. So if I'm in a futures trade where I've got, say, 10 contracts, for example, how does that make me feel? Is the uh, trade going in my favor? Like, is it making me kind of sweaty? Like, am I starting to get my feels? Or do I feel okay? So is my position size all right? Volatility of it, am I understanding where it's going? While I'm in the trade, do I know to stay above the indicators? Am I paying attention to the trend that it was in when I got into it, that I'm not going against myself, where I could have a potential loss if I'm not careful? And then when I get out of the trade, how do I feel overall? How did it go? What could I have done better? What did I learn? And that goes into the next question I ask myself that I make note of is, what did I learn? What did I learn from it? Was there an order that came in that I wasn't prepared for? Did I get in too soon? Is the trend going the opposite direction than the direction I'm going in the trade? Because that can directly affect the outcome of the trade. I'm making those little notes along the way. Because essentially, going into the 7th step of that, what can I do better to get into the next trade? And I can make a note there saying, well, I didn't, I was going against the trend, which, unless you're a really good scalper, I wouldn't suggest doing that. but I can make that note for myself for tomorrow, because essentially what I'm trying to do is I want to make sure that I'm a better trader tomorrow than what I am today. So I'm paying attention to that too. So those are the steps. So you write down the ticker, you write down what did you see or why are you entering? Did you execute the trade correctly? How did the trade go? How did you feel during, both before, during, and after the trade? What did you learn from the trade? And what can you do better for the next trade? Those would be the steps I would use when you're writing in your journal about your trading. Any questions on that? None? Okay, great. When I get confirmation that y'all can still hear me, awesome. Thank you guys. I do both. And I pay more attention to the stuff that is quote bad. I pay attention more so to that because I'm constantly want that uh the criticism, right? Like I need to have that so that I can be a better trader. So I will pay more attention to that versus the good because I know what's good at this point. Like when you've traded enough, uh, you definitely know what you're doing good. It's the stuff that makes you uncomfortable that you need to work on. So I do both. Great question, Mark. All right. Well, so yeah, that's right. So the question was is how do you when you write in your journal, uh do you just put both the good and the bad, good or the bad, or you just do the good, or do you do both the good and the bad? And my response to that is I do both. While I pay more attention to the bad because I want that constructive criticism. Like I want to be able to better myself for tomorrow. Once you've traded long enough, and this is just for me, once I've traded long enough, I don't need to concentrate on the good because I know what I'm good at, but I do need to work on the stuff that I'm not so great at. So I'll make a heavy note of that, or maybe I'll double line it or something like that so that when I look back on my journal entries, I can see, okay, well, this wasn't so great. Like I say, I got in too soon, or I didn't chart because I thought I saw something that was immediate. I would write that. Well, you didn't chart. What are you doing? You know to do that. But I'll make those constant notes for sure. Thank you, Mark, for that reminder. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start watching some charts here and we'll go through some. And feel free to ask questions similar to how we did in the training today. And we'll go through these and just see what we've got. I scalped the NQs, gold channel. Okay. Eden asked, how much should I have in the futures account as beginner futures trader? 500 is minimum. Is it better to have more than that as a cash account? Well, so the difference, Eden, please pay attention to this. So futures is considered a margin account. It's not treated like a cash account. So while my 500 is a minimum, and I will tell you that I did start mine with 500, and I did that on purpose. I did that so that I could follow the lead uh, of making sure that I did like I did before with the stocks and options. I started with a $500 account and grew it. So I've done that same thing. During the intraday hours, during the US open market, for example, contracts are going to be cheaper than what they are at night. And you can look in the stock lounge and see a chart that was posted last week. There's like 7 different contracts that are in there that will give you price points that fall within that 500 range. So it's going to be MYM as an example. I'll show it on the screen. MYM is a good example, although mine, I'm going to change this a second here. I think I need to refresh it. Because they should update now. There we go. So you should update, and let me confirm to make sure that it did. The chart, so the MYM main, for example, contracts are 57.20 currently, which you'll see the intraday margin. That's what it's going to take for you to be able to get in and out of these contracts. So that's MYM. M2K is another one. Let me pull that one up so you can see it. M2K is the micro E-mini Russell. 58.52 is what it would be per contract. So my point of me showing you this is that these contracts are going to focus more or be more useful for those smaller accounts while you choose to grow them. So MES is another, if you're writing these down. MES is 96.36. MNQ is a little bit more pricey at 122.10. Here we go. MNQ. Let's see. MNQ. MCL, which is crude oil. MCL is about 165 contract or so. If you're writing it down. Yes. Okay. All right. Is it through the authenticator? Through what? That. Yeah, I'm correct. Okay, I'm ready. Yeah, we'll have to always I think I might have a temporary solution for that we can try. I'll make a note for later. Zoom. Yes. Yeah, and I thought I had it connected and it's not. So we're working through some technicals, guys. We'll get this figured out. Again, I give myself a D minus. It's fine. D minus today. No, it's not Bruna's fault. It's mine. It's not work. That's not working. 69071. Nope. Yeah, it just kicked me out completely. Hang on. Well, just a moment. Let's kind of make sure I have a decent IQ to put these things together here. All right, so this is going to go to the authenticator, correct? All right, I am ready when you are. It is loading. It is logging in now, it says. Yep, OBS. Yep, let me change the screen. 'Cause I don't think I can drag it. You don't see that, do you? Oh, okay. Yes. Yep.
That was a little slide bar. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I
then
see that too.
just to double make sure, just turn off click monitor off on the top and just flip flop it. Go to monitor and output, click that one, and then click it back to monitor off. Or else you're gonna hear yourself. There we go. And 100%, hit close. And then start virtual camera.
Wow. Let's start virtual camera.
Yep. And now you can go live on TikTok. Now everybody,
It says it's still logging in, so this is awesome.
fantastic. But at least people on YouTube will be able to hear us as well.
Excellent.
Yep. Now you can go ahead and minimize that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Little behind the scenes for everybody. It's like
Yeah.
a production scene. All right.
I'm actually
Magic.
Let me know.
gonna-
I'll be standing by. Let me know if TikTok ever decides to wake up.
Okay. Yeah, TikTok is being TikTok. I'm gonna make a note of this. Oh, over here a minute. Tidy up my notes. All right.
Back to the dungeon I go.
Enjoy the dungeon, Bruno. Thank you for climbing out of your hole.
Thank you, Bruno.
All right. I don't remember where you were. Oh, shoot. Let me see. I think I was answering your question. Okay, so back to the futures account for beginners. 500 is the minimum. You can grow your account with that $500 minimum. Just be mindful it is a margin account. So if you dip below that 500, you will have to make sure before the end of the day that you put additional money back into it to get that account back to 500 and keep from getting a margin call. So just be mindful. I was able to do it successfully. Again, I'm a pretty good scalper, and I was able to get in here mechanically and work my magic, I guess if you want to call it that, and get in and out of the trades that I needed to support that. But just be mindful that you'll just have to make sure that you have that $500 in there at the end of the day. So I hope that helps answer your question. TikTok is still trying to decide and make a decision, so we'll just keep moving forward. Let's see here. Let's start at the top. Let's look at CL. This is crude oil. One of my favorites to look at. I love this. Make sure my screen looks good. And see what you guys are all looking at. Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. I know we talked a bit about this. We went through like what the psychology is for me to get in and out of a trade. I can do that again if you guys would like. Otherwise, we'll just kind of glance around here and see what's going on. Crude oil is having some good channeling, and it's a nice channel here if you wanted to channel this out, or if you want to scalp this. It's currently on the upside here. It's above the 9 for the most part for a second anyways.
Remember when I said about gold, don't worry about it. It was just channeling and hanging out. It blew
Yep.
up. It's going to the moon.
Of course it is. Of
I'm in
course
it.
it is.
Yeah.
I see
Also,
you have
there is
your
a
hand up.
question. Yes, there's a question in the Zoom chat. For those of us that come from the options, stock and options world, we're used to contracts being priced at per share, like say it might be 20 cents a share per contract. So we have to multiply that by 100 to get the price of the total options contract, right? So if it's 23 cents, it would be $230 to buy one contract of whatever stock we're playing. Does that work the same way with futures? How's that
Can answer
price,
that.
or is that just one price?
I could answer that if you want to, Ange.
Thank you.
So unlike option contracts, like Mark was describing, futures contracts is just it's going to be the margin requirement or the intraday, whatever time frame you're trading is going to be that same price per contract. So if you're trading, we're talking about gold. Gold right now for one contract is $302. That's going to be the price for that contract. You do have a 20-to-1 leverage on your money because that's where you get the on option contracts, you get that 100-to-1 leverage. But it's unlike option contracts. The future contracts are going to be what the contract price is. So right now on gold's 302. ES min or micros is $96. So if you were to buy one contract of ES or ES at $96, that's going to be your current price. But however, like Ange was talking about, this is a margin account. So unlike option contracts, your risk is more than that contract price. On option contracts, you pay a premium, and that's your maximum risk is the cost of that contract. So in futures contracts, it does cost you 90, and let's say just ES micros, it does cost you $96, or if you're paying the regular minis, it'll be $960. You could lose more than that contract that you paid. So our stops are incredibly important on everything that we do, but really important on this because it is a margin account and you can lose more than that contract price to get into that position.
So as a follow-up question, which was also asked in the Zoom chat, what happens if my account is below the $500 limit that I opened my account with at the end of the day or towards the end of the day?
That's what they call a margin call. Weeble's minimum requirements is $500. Each brokerage is going to have its own limit of their minimum required margin amount, but Webull is $500. So if your account falls underneath that $500, it's going to be what they call a margin call, which means that you're going to have to replenish your account of the difference of where you're at to get back up to that $500. Usually they want you to do it, before the end of the day. More than likely they'll give you a grace period and make sure that you have it done either that night or the day after, but each brokerage is going to have its own details on that. But it's called a margin call, and you want to make sure that you're above that minimum margin requirements that your brokerage has.
Yeah, so just be mindful of that, guys. It's important. You'll actually get a warning on Webull. You get about a 15-minute warning letting you know that you're below the margin. So that'll prompt you that you need to either transfer funds between your Webull accounts if you have multiple, or to deposit more money to satisfy that $500 minimum. So you will get notified. Great question. Great question. Just looking around to see if there's any hands up. Doesn't look like it, so we'll just keep going. The Qs today have been a great scalping opportunity, although it looks like it might be dying down a little bit. But I started out the morning in NQ working on my scalping skills on the future side. As you can tell by looking, there have been many opportunities today to scalp this all day long. And it's been a great scalping like lots and lots of great scalping opportunities today. If we look at current, get a general idea of what's going on here and maybe chart this out a little bit for any new scalping opportunities that might come about. I'm going to break this down a little bit. I would put a line here and make this a support at 683.49. Line here. And then I'm going to leave this line that I have up here. Let's go back and see why I put that here because I don't remember right off the top of my head. Nope, right here. I'm going to use this as resistance. It's also a double top. So that's the reason why I drew a line up here. Maybe you guys can see that for all of you new people. So that's what that was the purpose of that. I'm going to go back down to the 5-minute because I personally like to watch the 5-minute and have found success trading during the 5-minute to slow these charts down a little bit when they're really volatile. Just to see where it's at. We got 40 seconds left of this candle. Bring it back down to the 1-minute so you can see the difference between the two charts. I can see by looking at this to kind of get a better idea of where there might be a potential good entry point and what my exit point could be should I get into this. And as you can see, it's already starting to pop here. And also for those those individuals who do that 500 minimum account, when you are paper trading and say you are looking at, I believe it's any of them, the minimum on the paper trading side is like 572. So you'll want to increase your paper trading account because we've always had the rule where when you're paper trading, you always set your account up to what you are looking to have in your account when you start trading live. So putting 600 in there versus the 500 will make your paper trading experience a little easier. And you'll notice if you do paper trade it that you'll see that there's, in what I've noticed, it's about, I think it's 572. So just be mindful of that when you get in, just make that small adjustment, and then you can grow it from there too. So and on the paper trading side, if you're looking to do not just mechanics, but grow that account as well as you go. Let's see what else. I saw someone else say something about it.
Question. Since you're trading the NASDAQ 100, do you use like the QQQ chart to mirror or help make decisions? Or are you just trading to trade what's in front of you on that chart that you see?
So I trade the trade as I see it. And I know going into this already that what the QQQs will look like. So let me duplicate this so I can show you. Let's see here. Top chart. You guys should see a second chart, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. So it's going to change that because I didn't. Let me change this to a different number. And make sure that it did it. Oh, shoot. Right. Come on.
It's under that chart. You got to pin it.
Yeah. Come on. There we go. I love technology. It makes me really happy. All right. Well, let me do this.
Detach and pin. Detach.
Detach.
Hamburger menu on the right.
I'm so used to doing this on multiple screens.
Detach. Yep.
Detach.
Yeah, me too. And then you can pin it to where we want it.
Oh. Great. I want to put it down here.
Yep, there's your pin on the top left-hand side. That'll hold it there, wherever you put it.
Oh, look at that. See, I'm just the privilege of having a multiple screens where I just throw it on another one and call it good, not ever realizing I could actually do that. So that's great. Let
Put
me.
away gold, new high a day.
Thank you. Although no, I gotta change this. QQQ. Okay, there we go. So if I minimize all these, I don't need all this stuff for the sake of training. So you guys should be able to see the QQQ here. And then I will make this look similar to the NQ. If you look at it, they're the exact same or damn near. And so a lot of times what I've noticed is I'll go and I'll just double check to make sure just because I'm a visual person. So I want to, for me to know something's true or false, I want to see it with my own eyes. So for me, I'll double check. I'll double check the QQQs to make sure it looks similar to the NQ main. And if I see with my own eyes that it is, then I'll let it be what it is. And I won't need to look at the QQQs if I choose not to, and I'll just trade the NQs. But a lot of times I'm paying attention to what's going on in the news. So technology-wise, if technology is having a really great day, I know that I could be watching the QQQs. So I pay attention to this. But you can look at both side by side if you want to. It's really, I think it's really just personal preference. If you're in the stock education in the mornings, you'll hear coach in the group talk about the QQQs, which if you're paying attention in our lives that we have or the Zooms, if you are a futures trader, you'll know, oh, I'm hearing them say something about the QQQs. Maybe I should go take a look at it, journal it, and see if it's something that I might be interested in learning or trading potentially. Then you know you can go over to the NQ on the future side and follow along that way. And you can see that they're running pretty darn close. Lots of screens of social media shenanigans to pay attention to. This is awesome. All right. I will throw this chart down here in case we get asked another comparison question again. What do I do? Like unpin this and put it here? Does that work, do you think? We're gonna try it.
Yeah, you could add it to that widget if you just drag it over. And
Oh, that's what I'm
oh,
trying to do.
you detached it, so it's not part of that Weeble anymore.
Okay. So do I just close out of it and not worry about it? Is that how it works?
Yeah, if you don't want it, or drag it to another screen that you could drag back over.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I don't need it for now. I can always redo another one if need be. No big deal. Unqueue. It's below the 9 here. It looks like it bounced off of, what is that? 696.90. Now I pay attention to the L2. So I utilize both the chart and the L2 to make my decision if I'm going to get in and out of something. And I work heavily with both to ensure that. And so how do I know when to get in and out? It comes with tons of screen time, many hours of screen time. So you just learn over the course of time what you need to be looking at. So if I was going to be looking at this right now, a potential entry point, I would, for this most part right now, I would just be watching this. So it's about by the 9. And I'd be paying attention over here at the L2 and looking to see if there's any critical areas or good support lines over here that may be a good entry point if I wanted to wait patiently for it to come down and pick me up. or if I'm willing to just snag or buy on the way up or down potentially without using the L2. Now the L2 currently is pretty heavy on the bid side, which is an indication that it could potentially keep dropping. But as you notice, there's quite a bit of volume in here, and we've got some volatility going on right now. So I would still just be watching it. I don't ever want to make a trade out of something. I want to wait for a really good setup before I pop into something. It keeps me from making careless mistakes, because that's the last thing that I want to do. There was a heavy support line that just disappeared. Something that you'll notice as you get familiar with the L2 and using it in conjunction to the chart, these really long wicks, they start to appear right after, I call it a flash of volume that comes through here. Like we'll have barely nothing in the size over here, and suddenly it'll just be the shaded area will go across it, and it'll disappear and come back, and you'll notice that these really long wicks will start to appear, or these really long wicks will break out, and you'll see it. So if you're waiting down here, for example, see if we can touch one of these. What is it? 700, 699. If you wanted to wait down here, 699, if it came down and picked you up, the wick would touch you, and then typically it goes back up, whether you're going up or down, but it'll come back up and get you, or it'll pop.
Ange, have you noticed any correlation at the 3 o'clock hour, which what we call power hour in the stocks and options market? Does that pretty much apply to the futures market now? I realize that your NASDAQ 100 and your would probably react. But what about you? I know you've been trading oil. I don't know if you've looked at other ones. Do they generally react during the power hour also, in your experience?
I haven't paid any attention to like the crude oil during power hour. Typically, we're in here during power hour, so a lot of times we're looking at the NQs, the Dow. What's the other one we're in here we look at? Yeah, those
Yeah,
the big
yeah,
ones.
the
Yeah,
Russell,
yes.
yeah, ES, NQ, YM, and RTY are your four main equities in futures.
We're getting a little heavy here with NQ. Watching this 693.47. Keep glancing over at the L2 out of habit. You don't have to use the L2. I'm so stuck on it that while I can do both, I typically like to trade off the L2 prior to switching over to futures. That's how I was trading for the most part, just using that L2 to get in and out, and then just using the chart as confirmation if I needed to. One of the biggest things like we follow over here at American Dream Trading is making sure that we follow the rules. And just to kind of recap what those rules are, one of the biggest ones we need to make sure is that we're not losing more than 1 to 3% of our account on any given day. 2 red trading days in a row, stop trading, paper trade for a few weeks, and maybe do some more training so you can get your mechanics right, so you can learn from those mistakes you're making. If you're not a master trader, don't scalp. You need to master those mechanics and really get a true understanding for what you're doing before you start doing any crazy scalping. And that's why we encourage those who are not scalpers to do the 2-minute EWO. Mark has been doing the 2-minute EWO in his training, and it's working out really great for him in gold. So that's great. 1 to 5 trades per day, and watch the revenge trading. I know I typically do more than just those 1 to 5 trades in a day. But I also I know myself, so I know if I start to get to the point where I maybe quote revenge trading. And that's easier to do now that we have a margin account over here in futures because we can recycle and there's no unsettled cash. And since we can keep recycling that money, like you may be more inclined to either revenge trade or to overtrade. So set a goal up for yourself and make a decision. If your goal is to do $100 a day, make that your goal. And you reach that goal, be done. Get out, go train, go paper trade, go ride a bike, go read a book, whatever. Just get out of it. Teach yourself some discipline. Same goes with the revenging side. If you find yourself in a couple red trades and you're frustrated and you're like, oh, but I got this. I got this figured out. I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna hop back in and I'm gonna make up my money. Don't do that either. Don't do it. Journal it. Let it be. Get on I call it the V box. Get on that for a couple minutes, cry it out, get off the box, and just move forward. Just move on. The red trades are going to happen. The whole idea is to minimize your risk, right? So know what you're willing to risk each day before you ever get into a trade, so that doesn't happen. That way you're not revenge trading. One of the other ones, position size matters. Make sure your positions are small. I can tell you from experience, I do like to trade just with one contract at a time. Well, in some cases, they're pretty uh, small movements. I'm finding that if I'm paying attention to the indicators, I'm paying attention to how the contract is flowing. I can do sometimes 50, $60 on a typical pull um, to the upside or the down on a particular contract. And you do that several times a day, depending on what your goal is. You don't need to do more than that. So position size does truly matter. I know for myself, in my experience of what I've been doing, I like to do that one. I still like to do that one contract, but I've gotten up to about 5 and without feeling in any sort of way about it. Not goes with the whole part of journaling too, right? I talk about how does that trade make me feel. 5 contracts ain't so bad. You know what you're doing and you're getting in when you're supposed to. Uh, it's okay. I know it. I trust my mechanics. I trust that I know what I'm doing, and I'll just follow through with the trade. So position size matters. Now, I do have a goal for the future of what I would like to get to, but we can talk about that as we progress. Let's see here. The last one, the biggest one, which I think should be number 1, and we've talked about this, and we'll talk about it repeatedly every day, is always using your stops. Absolutely do not get into any of these contracts without a stop. I will show you how to set it up so it pops up automatically when you place an order. You go down to your settings on Webull, and you go under trade and then futures. It will tell you how you'd like to have whether you'd like to have it set at market or limit. I have mine set at market. You can adjust this as you wish, no problem. And then quantity, I always have it at 1 because I don't want to accidentally buy 10. Like I don't want to do that. I don't want to freak myself out. So I have it set to 1. You can always change it on your screen manually. And then I have my stops set. So how we get a question all the time, how do you know what stop you should have? I would say between 15 and 20 or 15 and 25 ticks is a good stop loss uh, to have in place, and you can move it up according. I can tell in my own experience that when I trade NQ, I need to have my stop typically at the 20 to 25 range, which makes my potential loss a lot more. But I need to have that because the wicks that occur will stomp you out if you're not careful. So 15 to 20, 15 to 25 range. Just know what your risk tolerance is and what you're willing to lose should there be a drop. But always have a stop in place. And I'll use this as an example. Like say, for example, the top of this wick was going to the upside and it was green. When I got in here and say this candle, say the wick was ridiculous, like super. I don't even know if I can find one. Let's see. If I stretch it out, it makes it look a lot worse. Say I got in, uh, say I got in like right around the 700 range here on this candle, and it popped down in this wick would stomp me out. So if I need to make sure that I have the stop as far as I'm willing to lose just in case. I have been stomped out numerous times trying to figure out which contract is the best for the different stops tick wise that I need for my trades to be successful. So know what your limitations are. So we are in power hours. So if you notice, we're going to potentially see some volume increase here, one way or the other. We're going to see an increase in some volatility on these main ones. If we look at crude oil, we can look at oil and see if it does anything. Doesn't look like it's doing anything. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's doing anything. But if we go back to the NQ, oh, yeah, when we're getting into that last hour of the day, we're going to start to see some more unpredictability happening here. This a little bit bigger. Let's kind of see what it's doing. And this is my 55 here. So it's below the 21 and it's below the 9.
Why did you choose to trade NASDAQ today, or at this point of the day anyway?
Well,
Reason
today,
for it, or you just like it?
so today it was just purely because I wanted to try something different. 'Cause I've been doing crude oil for the most part. I've been watching this a little bit and paper trading it to get a feel for its volatility because I typically like more of those rapid movements. And so today I was like, you know what? I'm going to chart it out before the US market open, and have it ready to go. And then I was just going to follow it and kind of see what it was going to do. That was my only reason I got into this one today.
And this is a big week this week for the stock market, right? Because a lot of the tech stocks are reporting their earnings starting today throughout the rest of the week, as are other numerous large companies. So they both probably might be volatile, right? And that's what you like for scalping.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I knew that. I also knew that going into this week that there was going to be potential for some more extreme volatility. So I mean, I was aware of that too coming into it, but that was not for today. It wasn't my decision. The reason I got into this. Now, for the rest of the week, I'll probably pay attention. And I noticed for myself that now that I've had some significant screen time for the future side, that I do like the movement of NQ. Um, Now that doesn't mean that it's going to be as adventurous as it has been today every single day, but it would definitely be something that I watch for. So I'm looking over here at the L2 at this one. I'm looking to see when there might be an opportunity to pop in here if I was to scalp this, or if somebody got into this already when it was below the 9. If they did, like where an opportunity would be to potentially get out or watch for a break. The L2 is moving really fast. So you really have to have a good eye for what you're looking for when you're coming in here.
How many concurrent trades should we be in? How many trades should we be in at one time? Is there a limit that you have, or do you do like 5 or 10 at one time, or just one, or how do you handle that?
I definitely only do one at a time. I haven't done it in futures, and given what I know, I wouldn't. I wouldn't get any more than one, especially with how fast these move. But I would definitely just do one at a time. I mean, if you're really good at it, go for it, but I would definitely not suggest it. Something else for you new futures traders out there, if you're wondering if you're new and you haven't done this before yet. So you can both buy and sell. So you can buy these on support, sell them on resistance, but you can also buy them on resistance and sell on support. So mechanically, it looks a little different than what it is when you do this with stocks. So how does that work? Well, let me show you. So if you say you would have gotten in down here, somewhere in this region, right? When you would go to buy in to get in on the upside, you would click buy. And I use buy market because I want to get in right away at the market value. So I would click buy. You write it up, blah, 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 right? We're going, here we go. Say you're getting up to this critical level that you've charted out, right? This is the 69, what is it? 69690. And say it's starting to toggle right here and you're trying to make a decision. Okay, do I want to keep going? And so you decide, okay, there's no indication yet to get out. I'm going to keep going. So you're waiting. Another minute goes by, or I guess it's 5 minutes because I'm on a 5-minute chart at the moment for training, but 5 minutes go by, it's a steady increase. You're still above the 9 and so on. But now you're another 5 minutes in and you're starting to notice that there's a potential drop happening. Your L2 is proving that that's the case, getting a little heavy. And now you got to start making a decision what you're going to do. The nice thing about futures is you can ride this to the top and you can ride it back down to the bottom. So how do you get out of this? If it's getting up here to the top and you're like, okay, like it can't decide what it's going to do, I'm going to get out. You're going to click sell and it's sell at market. Okay. And if you're really good at your mechanics and you can tell just by looking at this in the L2 and using all the things that you know how to do, this is going to keep going down. You can go ahead and buy it at the top here and write it down. How do you do that? You would click sell to write it down. So you click sell at market and you'd write it down until you're ready to get out. You get down here to the bottom of this, what looks like to be, what is that? Let me see. 695.45, and you say you're starting to notice that it's starting to do some weird stuff, but it's still above the 9. Or in that case, it's below the 9, if you're looking at it from a shorting standpoint. But you can decide whether or not you're going to stay in it. Some people would stay in it because it's still where it's supposed to be. But others would, a good scalper would get out and just reset and get back into it. So to get out of it, so if you got in up here at the 710.20, remember you sell it to get into it. And to get out of that, you're going to click buy market. So it's just the opposite. And let me tell you, you are going to do it wrong a handful of times before you remember that, oh yeah, I need to click sell when I want to get in the top to write it down. I have done it numerous times, and it ticks me off every single time I do it because I know better.
So it's just like when you're doing a shorting on stocks, correct?
Yes. Yep. So I'm still on the 5-minute here. Again, I like this 5-minute. I think that was a double top at one point. Yes. So we're up here on a double top. Let's go back to my 5-minute because like the look of it. Now it's breaking it on the 5-minute. Now I'm going to go look at the 1-minute for a moment just to see what it looks like on this interval or time frame, however you want to call it. I'm going to draw a line here just so that I can make some notes. I like to overdraw lines if y'all haven't noticed, but it works out in my favor. It helps me get in and out of some of these a lot easier. And I like to just sit and watch these. I like to just observe how they work, especially if I had never traded this before, I would sit and watch it for a little while before I would ever get into it. And I never want to get into something that I don't have a clear understanding as to what it's doing. Lexus 71020 area. Yeah, and for anybody that was in here in the doing and they're trading the NQ, paper trading or whatnot, whatever, this has been a really good one today. It's a great one to go in and practice your mechanics and just really trade the heck out of it. I'm super jealous that I'm not currently in this one, or this at least this afternoon. Oh, and this evening, so for this evening, when the market reopens again, I will pop back in here and I will do some observing in the evening. If any of you, did any of you guys see last night, uh, Eric doing his running commentary for the trades he was in overnight while he was practicing?
Yeah, I saw him.
They were good. I stayed in it as long as I could before I started to doze off here at the computer. I'm like, okay, it's time to call it a night. Paul on the run, you have a question?
Yeah, Ange, question for you back on your turbo features. I think I set up my turbo futures like yours, but I don't have the stop loss on the back end of it. I see how you've got, for example, yeah, buy one market SL, but mine's not showing up.
SL isn't showing up for you at the end of it?
What's that?
But SL isn't showing up for you?
No, it's not. So if
Okay. Well, let's look and see what happens. I'm going to take this off and see if it removes
Yeah.
itself. I'm not sure how that
It's
works.
it's on the portion of the screen that you're not sharing. And you should see it too, Paul, on the run. There's a little checkbox on the bottom of the Turbo Futures widget with the stop loss and take profit.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that that stop loss is checked, and as soon as you check it and uncheck it, we'll apply the stop loss or take it off. So there's
So
two
I have
different
to
ways.
have that checked in order for the stop loss to work.
Correct. Yeah, there's two
Okay.
different ways to set a stop loss in the widget itself, and you want to make sure that that box is checked, and then you should see the SL pop up. I'm looking at mine, and I'm checking it on and off, and then right from there, underneath stop loss, you could change the stop loss, and there's a little box inside of there, whether it's a dollar sign, a little thing that looks like a staircase, which is the ticks, or you could do your percentage. So you could change the ticks right there inside of your futures widget itself.
It's an echo too, so make sure if you, it sounds like you might be streaming on 2 devices,
Yeah.
so we can hear it.
Okay. So is that any better?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that sounds better.
So the challenge that I've had doing that on this the stocks is when I click that, I've got to uncheck it when I'm trying to sell, or it won't let me sell it.
Correct.
So every time I'm buying, I click it, and then before I sell it, I have to uncheck it.
Yeah, even on futures, I noticed that as well. When I go into a position and I'm on the buy side and I have the checkbox, it will, automatically get me in at that price and set a stop. I have noticed though, if I don't uncheck it on the futures side and I do sell it, it will sell my order. It won't give me that same warning like we do on stocks. However, it also puts in a stop loss for that sell order. So I'm having to close both of those boxes. So either one, you're going to have to do a little bit of work, whether you uncheck the box before you get out or close those new orders after you sell and it puts in a stop. You're going to have to close those boxes because there are orders that are currently there for that. So I just got in the habit of unchecking that box after I buy because I'm only usually in one trade at a time. So I'll buy and then I'll quickly go down there and uncheck it. And then when I sell, I still have to close that box. So I've been communicating with Weeble, and I'm going to see if they can't somehow fix that because it should be a combined order. One should cancel the other. So hopefully in their next couple updates, they'll get that fixed where we don't have to deal with it. So, but
Okay.
as of right now, just getting the mechanics, whether you want to uncheck it or however you want to manage that. But it seems like Weeble needs to kind of update that little bit on their side.
Okay. Gotcha. Appreciate it.
No problem.
John Nyquist in the YouTube live chat asks, AMD reports earnings after the close today. Would that affect the QQQs / your NASDAQ, right, that you're trading in futures if the company disappoints or if it beats expectations?
100% absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say I believe so. For myself specifically, when I was doing just shares, I was just doing hot stocks. So what I've learned and gathered just by doing some additional research that yes, it would affect it. And if you think I interrupted you, Aaron, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So I just highly recommend if you are trading one of the future contracts that have the equities, make sure that you have a list of those equities that are inside of that futures contract. So if they do have earnings and you are trading that futures contract, you'll know what's going to be affecting if the earnings come out and they're bad. However, there is multiple, there are, NASDAQ has 100, S&P has 500, so there's a lot of other factors in it. It's not going to be a one-to-one, but they're usually heavily weighted, especially the Microsofts, the Googles, the AMDs, the big boys that are actually coming out with earnings this week. They are heavily weighted inside of those ETFs and the future contracts. So just get used to knowing the product and what equities and what stocks are under, inside of that futures contract that you're trading.
And in all honesty, AMD is probably under more scrutiny for their earnings and their outlook that they're going to give, because they're actually in number 2 place, right? Under second only to Nvidia overall as far as their sector, right? So they've been held down for so long by the stock market unfairly, I believe, in my own opinion. That and $1.25 get you a cup of coffee at McDonald's. So yeah, it's exciting when AMD does report and hear what they have to say. So it's what they have to say after they release their earnings or outlook for the company. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Do we have new things in the pipeline? Those kind of things, kind of the news after they release their earnings that the CEO and all them talk about after the earnings release. That's when you really see the movement. And that's why a lot of them wait till after the market closed to actually release those earnings, just to kind of let people calm down, so they don't get over exuberant or freak out and sell off, so it gives people time to calm down and digest the information and how they want to use that information.
Great question. And I'm pulling up the system's super slow at the moment, but you can pull up the cmegroup.com and you can go under the economic release calendar and you can pull it up for today, which is Tuesday. And it will break down for you. And as soon as the screen decides to do what it needs to do so I can post it, it'll give you the breakdown of what time everything is. And then you can pay attention to how it affects the market throughout the day. And so I have it tailored. When I pull up the CME group, it's specifically for futures. So you'll be able to see how it'll directly affect. And then it'll do the same thing overnight for tomorrow. So you'll have a constant overview of particular events that could happen or that will happen that could affect the market in any way. And then it'll give you an impact of what the potential is. We'll just keep watching this. Let's go back to my NQ. It's still going up. Look at that. Ugh.
Yes, it is.
Look at that. It's well above the 9, which I love that. I would have loved to have been in this.
Yeah, gold kind of is following your chart too. They're pretty close. They both started popping upward. Matter of fact, gold set a new high a day here a little bit ago, but pulled back a little bit.
Yep. What was intriguing for you, Mark, that you felt so inclined to follow gold? Was there a particular reason?
Getting a lot of attention in the market, in the news. We have world events that are affecting the movement of the stock, things that are happening on the other side of the world presently. I like the movement of it overall. I like that the fact is it goes up and reaches a certain point and then retracts and it goes back up. The volatility. There's, I mean, you can play 5 or 6 EWOs a day on this thing. If you're playing EWO, I just love it. You can just look at all of them. Some are more bigger movers than others, and of course that's part of the time of the day too. Generally, when it sets a new high, it retracts. You can play it going down, let it hit and I got lines on my chart now that I've watched it enough that I'm not saying I can predict the future, but it gives me more confidence just for the a couple of weeks I have been watching it, right? Get them lines of support and resistance on there, plus using Coach's 2.0 indicators that we use. It just gives you more confidence. So I just like it. It has so many good EWOs. It doesn't generally just run flat. Now, will it always be that way? Probably not, right? And they've been touting gold to 3,000 for all year practically, right? I can remember when gold was 800 and when it went to $800 an ounce from like 400. I mean, this is back in the 80s. That was a big deal back then. Now look at it, right? So, and you got the uncertainty. We got the elections here in the States coming up in a week. So there's a lot of things that's going on, creating volatility and excitement. So mainly for the EWOs to answer your question the simple possible way, which I should have done the first time, but it's just a lot of up and down.
Yeah.
And just to talk on that, I mean, everything has its, no matter what chart we're looking at or one underlining stock or equity product that we're looking at, everything has its movement, right? Every stock goes up, stock goes down, stock consolidates, or the chart. So with gold, it was consolidating a little bit inside of that $2,300 to $2,400, and then back in July, it started to break out above those levels, and it's been on a nice, good uptrend. And if we could start identifying these areas and start identifying these spots, then we could really take advantage of them. Especially on gold, making all-time highs, but it's been a nice stair step, like Mark was saying, just a nice
Talking about
constant
gold.
stair step up. Yeah, gold.
All right, I'll pull it up.
Yeah, I was looking at a day chart and just, and everything has, like I said, just in general, everything has its time that it consolidates. Everything has its time that it breaks out, but you can make money on no matter what time frames or what strategies that we're playing. Like I said, gold's been making all-time highs, and it could go up to 3,000. How long does that take? We don't know. But at one point, it's gonna want to pull back. So just noticing the trends and the consolidation areas of each product or stock that we're trading, or equity, or whatever, whatever chart that we're staring at, right? Everything has its ways of doing it. Like oil's been in consolidation since 2022. However, you could still make a lot of money and scalp it. So neither of them are good or bad. It's just really identifying what type of nature or what temperature that we're trading on the underlying stock. And then knowing the ranges, right? If it's been consolidating and been bouncing off a higher range and a lower range, making sure that we have them charted out. And the same thing with
I
gold,
have you
or
muted because
anything that
I'm
is on a
live
nice, good
on
uptrend,
YouTube.
always
You
look
can
left.
stand
And
there
if
and
it is
talk to
on
me
all-time
briefly.
highs, then we just have to be very cautious of when it does get up to those all-time highs that there's really nothing to lean against, or, there's nothing to the left of it, it's just breaking all-time
I did see
highs.
that.
So just, again, just
Yes.
knowing the product that we're trading. But gold's been a beautiful in the last couple days. Today,
Okay, I
2
need you
days
to shut
ago,
the
and
door
then
now
today it
because I
had a
gotta
really
answer a
good
question.
couple good buy candles on the day chart, and then broke out of
Thanks,
those
buddy.
levels. And then we're seeing that result of that today, where it's actually taking a run and making new all-time highs. So earlier on today, I saw that breakout on gold, and I didn't trade it at all, but I just noticing these things throughout the days that happen. So
Yeah, and there's some comfort also, and I learned this from David. He is a we call him the Apple Whisperer. It's kind of a joke, but it really kind of ain't. David pretty much only trades Apple. He knows the levels. He's lived with Apple for practically, a year or two straight. He knows the levels. He's become a go-to kind of guy in our group when you want to know something about Apple. And he's got proven success in trading it personally with. So there's a lot of comfort in trading, and coach even recommends don't specialize in 1 to 5 stocks. There's 10,000 stocks out there literally that you could trade, 8,000 in the United States, right? That you could trade. You can't possibly know what they all do. Can you apply the same training to all of them when you're trading them? Sure, but you're better off if you become somewhat of a specialist. Pick a few, maybe out of different sectors in case one, gold may be running today, but it may quit, and then silver will be the one running, right? Same metals market, different stock. Actually, silver is being more heavily traded. But anyway, just like the Nasdaq. Well, maybe utilities will be running, later, and that might be what you need. So try to be more of a specialist and learn how these things move, and you get lines on your charts so that when you go to trade them, you're more confident of how that stock reacts to your support and resistance lines, and how it reacts to news, how it reacts to earnings. And that'll give you a lot more confidence than trying to trade a stock that you know absolutely nothing, or future that you know absolutely nothing about. So just build your confidence if you're not spread too thin and trying to chase every shiny penny. So just like Aaron said, all right, gold may slow. We got a big catalyst coming up here. We got the U.S. presidential elections, right? And I'm not saying one way or the other who gets elected, but there will probably be a reaction, right? One way or the other. Market may want this person, market may want that person for various reasons. But eventually, all the hoopla is going to slow down. The next president of the United States will be inaugurated, and life will return to boring again, right? It'll go right back into just another day in the office kind of things. And then a lot of this stuff like gold, it may just settle down and just not do a whole lot after that, right? So, but you don't know. We don't. If we all knew, we'd all be billionaires, right? We'd all throw every penny we have into gold if we thought that's it's going to have it. So that's why I'm looking at gold, just for the volatility. My expectation would be the same thing, not being an expert at all, but just looking at what's going on in the world, our own little world that we revolve around in. After next week, we'll have a new president elect, right? And then the inauguration at the end of the first of the year. So specialize.
Absolutely. Paul, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I do. Is that a little better? No, no echo.
Nope, not that
Yeah,
I
you
can
sound
hear.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah, shut the other one down. Can you walk me through on the gold, what I would need in an account to actually buy one? So, because I see the price of 27.83, but then I also see where it says margin used 18.15. If you have enough cash in your account, does it always tap the margin, or how does that work?
Great question. So I have this pulled up on two different screens. So let me pull up.
Yeah. While you're pulling
So,
that up too.
no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Okay.
you're
So
good.
yeah, just while you're pulling that up, so on some of these we have micros. So you might be looking at gold. Let me go to gold. Yeah, so the regular gold, the minis, or GC, its margin requirement for one contract is 18.15. If you Are you on Webull, or what platform are you trading on?
Oh, Weeble.
Yeah, so on Webull and anything that does have a micro available, it's just the root, so whether it's GC or NQ or ES, if you put M in front of it, it's going to pull up the micros, and it's going to be a lot less than the minis. And what Webull has done on their futures widget that they provided, because Webull does not offer all the futures contracts that are available on the CME group website. So I would use the futures widget, and inside the futures widget, all the way on the right-hand side, they have an area that says micro futures, and it gives you all the availability of all the different micro contracts that are available. And if you're getting started, and depending, regardless of what your account size is, if it's, if futures are new to you, I would definitely recommend starting with the micros, just because you're not putting so much at risk until you really learn how to trade them. But inside of there, you'll have, the Dow, S&P, NASDAQ, Russell. There's even some Forex ones in there, and gold is going to be at the end of that list. But MGC is going to be the ticker that you put in there, and that will take you to the micros. But the amount that you're shown is the margin requirement. So Weeble's minimum amount for their futures account is $500. So if the contract that you're wanting to trade is, more than what your account size is, then you're not able to trade it. But that margin used, or that intraday margin, is going to be the amount that you need to have in there. So if you're trying to trade something that's, that you could trade during regular hours, that's, let's say, $300 for gold, but then it goes to maintenance margin, which then is going to cost you like $2,400, or I think gold micros is $1,100 on the maintenance margin. So you're going to have that $1,000 or $1,100 if you choose to trade this after market close, or when the hours are for that particular contract. So again, you'll have to figure that out as far as what you want to start with, and what futures contracts that you can trade that's inside your budget. But the list that the Ange put together for us for, the smaller accounts, they're all going to be the micros. And typically it's going to be the four major equities: ES, NQ, Russell's, which is M2K, the Dow, and then gold and oil. Those are the ones that seem to have that price that fits that quote unquote $500 range. However, we do recommend having a little bit more, just so we don't get a margin call in there. Maybe start with $1,000, but then you could trade, and they're highly liquid, and they got a lot of volatility. So even with those six, will keep you pretty busy. Even with a new account, those six are pretty strong. Strong ones, and that's why they have micros. They didn't always have micros in the futures market, but since saw the volatility and, the need for them, they made the micros, and now we're getting some more volatility and volume inside the micros, so they're heavily traded, almost the same as the minis, and they follow along the same way too. So
Okay, yeah, that answers that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and as they start adding, we will get notifications, or they will notify us some way when they make the updates that are needed, as they continue to progress with futures. So we'll have that constant notification from them letting us know too. So as they continue to add things to this, we'll be aware.
Yeah, and the difference too is the micros. It's a tenth of the. Like on the main gold, it's for every dollar it goes up in price, you make $100. On the micro minis, for every dollar it goes up, you make $10. And the prices of the contract is also reflective of that, same way, proportional.
Yeah, absolutely. Great
Everybody
question.
should do the smaller ones. They really should.
I always resort back to watching MQ. I think I found my new love.
NQ,
Hmm.
yeah. well, like you said, this week and even into next week, but all the major big boys are trading, so it's going to be exciting to have the futures market on the after hours after these earnings come out. Should be some good volatility in one direction or another.
Another question we get sometimes is, how do you choose which future to trade? Um, the, the biggest factor when we consider what that is, what size account you have. So, somebody might be able to hop into uh, one of the futures for Bitcoin. They have the account size to support it, whereas somebody with a smaller account, like say that $500, five to $700 range, may be only able to get into say something uh, like the MYM or the M2Ks of the world. So it really just depends on what your account size is and what you're looking to do. You know what kind of trader you are. If you are a scalper, you're going to be looking for those contracts that are in those futures that are a little bit more volatile, where there's going to be good opportunities to get it in and out pretty quickly. And then if you're looking for, that if you're one that does the 2-minute EWO, you're going to most likely be looking for something different there too. Same with those who swing trade and do the long-term stuff as well. You're going to be paying attention to different avenues. So you just got to know what kind of trader you are. How do you decide that? Well, practice with paper trading or simulation trading to help you decide what that looks like for you. I can tell you like a little bit of my backstory of why I became a scalper versus doing the 2-minute EWO. So even though we talk about it, so if you're part of our stock education in the mornings, or if you are a part of ADT and you're in pre-market, we are encouraged to start with the EWO because it will teach you mechanically, and I wouldn't say that it's easier, but it may be easier to understand and catch on a little quicker if you do the EWO. And early on for me, I was working during the day, so I needed to figure out a way and how I could make uh, learning this because I knew nothing coming in here. I need to figure out a way to uh, learn this and learn this really fast. And so I tried to do the EWO and found real quick that it just wasn't for me. I needed something a little bit more fast paced. I only had a certain time frame that I could be in here. So the 2-minute EWO could last for quite a while. And I didn't have that kind of time. So I, at that point, decided that I was going to become a scalper. And that's how I got started with being a scalper. So that's why when we go through these trainings, I will typically fall to the scalping side of things versus the 2-minute EWO. And that's why. So I learned early on that I needed to figure out how to be a good scalper. So just like for many new traders, I came in here with nothing. I didn't know anything. I take part in all the memberships that we had at the time. And I gave myself a year. I got a year membership and I said, okay, I'm giving myself a year to figure this out. If I don't have this figured out by the time my membership is done, then this wasn't for me. But while I'm in here and I have all these tools and resources available to me, I'm going to take them and I'm going to run with it. And so I learned early on how to manage my time and become really disciplined because I only had the 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. or so it'd be 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. time frame to get this skill set figured out because I had to go to work. So I became really disciplined, and I followed all the rules. And when it came to scalping, and I showed up every day to pre-market, and I listened to other mentors and moderators and the millionaires that we have in that group in the morning. I took everything that they would say and I would make notes. I mean, I have I have notebooks full of notes of the same notes over and over again, all over the place in my office. But I followed all the rules. I did exactly what I was trained to do or what we're trained to do. And I learned really quickly that I had a knack for this. I had a knack to watch the charts. I had a knack to get in and out of candles very quickly. I learned real fast that I could use the L2. Mark, who's in here, I watched him chart. So I learned how to chart really quickly by watching him chart. Other members of the community, Nate goes in depth and detail on how he gets in and out of things and what he's looking for. So I would observe that, taking a note from him, I started recording the L2 and in conjunction with the charts. And just utilizing that stuff over and over and over again for months and months and months. And then realizing that I had really figured out that out of everything that I've ever done in this lifetime, I have a gift. I have a gift where I can get in and out of these things really fast and I can see it and I can execute it. And so I ran with it. And if you fast forward, through May, I think May I was like the trader of the month or something like that. And I became a moderator back in July. And then I retired out of my 8 to 5 late September. So it's been a blessing, to come in here and empty my cup and take everything that American Dream Trading's channels have for education, the people that are in here, anybody and everybody who's willing to pour into you, ask the questions. Those of you that are in the futures community, the community is really small right now. And as time goes on, this will grow exponentially. And as it grows, it will turn into what our daily Zoom looks like for our premium members who sit and Zoom all day and trade the stocks and options. And futures will do the same thing. So you get that you get to grow with the community right now. So I encourage all people of all walks of life who have either been in futures for a long time, who want to come in here and share your knowledge too. And for those who are new, to come in here and empty your cup and just be open to learning anything and everything and asking all the questions, whether you think, well, I don't know what to ask or not, ask it anyways. Because I can guarantee you there is someone else in here that has the same exact question you have that just isn't willing to speak up yet because they either don't want to speak up because they're nervous to, or they're just not quite sure how to ask the question. So just come in here with an empty cup is my point, and paper trade and listen and learn and ask questions, and you'll pick up on it pretty quickly if you're paying real close attention. But just be mindful that sometimes it does take others longer. It only took me a couple months to really get in here and figure this out. Some people it takes, a year, 2 years, and then, for that small percentage of people, you may not get it at all. And that's okay. It's not for everybody. I can tell you that in my experience, I have failed at a lot of things in my lifetime. I have failed at trying new things and most likely just didn't have great mentorship and just got out of it because I'm like, nope, this ain't for me. I failed at it. But this is beautiful because you have help in every corner. So I encourage all of you to stick around, and follow everything and set yourself up for success with a goal. Ken, you have your hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Yesterday you were charting, and when you were charting a whole line across, right? I know you had your pencil selected, and you had. Go ahead. Can you select your pencil for a second? It might be easier once you do that. But there's something I don't have that you have, so maybe. Okay. Oh, yesterday when you had this up, see that little, right? How did you get that extra stuff on your box right there with the gear and the padlock and the garbage can?
So I have keys set up for this too. So, and I just always resort back to doing it the long way, this way. So under drawing, if I click on horizontal line, sometimes this will disappear and you'll only get a couple things that'll
Right.
show up.
Are you
It's
are you on paper, Ken? Sorry.
No, I'm on the live stuff, but I did it the other way around, where at the top where it says chart, I clicked on the pencil and it did the other stuff, and I wasn't getting those things that she was getting. Yeah, right there. I was clicking on that one and
So it looks like this probably, right?
yeah, that's all I had. I couldn't figure out how did you get those other ones.
Sometimes if you click on it, it'll show up. I've noticed that when it does this for me, I gotta draw a line and then it'll pop up.
Yeah, I was doing that, but I see how you did it though. You right clicked. You went from the right click and went draw a line instead of me going up to the pencil and all. So that works. You went to drawings and then horizontal line, right? Yeah. Then it popped
Yeah, if I
in.
right click it,
And the
sometimes
barrel,
sometimes it pops up that way where it just only gives you these 4.
yeah,
Let's see if I can get it to do it again. I'm not sure
kind of
why
nice to do that.
sporadically it doesn't.
Trying to put in the exact price or whatever.
Yeah, see now
Yeah.
it popped up that way for a second and then it added it. Not sure why it does that.
Okay. And I noticed and maybe Mark or Ron would know. I noticed when I was charting yesterday on my own, I was using the day, the D, and I would chart, my resistance and support. But I noticed you chart it on there, and then you go and check out the 2 minute, it disappears, your lines. Is there a way to get your lines to stay there the whole time, no matter if you're going on the 2, the 4, the 5 minute?
Yeah, on TradingView you're talking about, yes?
No, we will.
Oh, I think Webull has it too.
I'm not sure what you're looking for.
Well, okay, so if you go to day, click on the day. So I charted my resistance and support. So just draw a different line anywhere, just in a different color. It doesn't have to be a color as long as you remember. Now, now click on your 2 minute.
Yeah, it's going to be somewhere in the chart settings. On TradingView, it's a little bit different. I haven't messed with Webull because all my lines show up on all time frames.
On Webull?
On Webull for me, yeah. So I'm
Okay.
just trying to look at the chart settings because in TradingView, it's on the line itself. And maybe Mark knows this a little bit quicker, but I'm looking in the chart
I
settings
thought maybe
menu.
on the chart settings it'd be under.
Thinking it. Is it sync? I think it's a sync. It's been a while. Mine's the same way. No matter what chart I do, it shows up
Yeah.
those lines. Thinking it's a sync. Let's see.
Well, sync's gonna
Settings, sync.
Sync's going to apply all the EMAs that you have set up from one to the next. This is going to be something, and maybe sync works, but sorry, I'm just looking.
That's a great question. Now when I put my line and I put it down here at the 1795, it showed up. So I must have a setting that I did early on when I set up my Webull that would keep my lines.
Yeah, right click in your black area on your chart, just right click, and then go to chart settings, and then click on axis at the top. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about. I just kind of want to see if mine's different than yours. Oh, why does yours look different? You have adjust type. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Linear last. Da-da-da.
And you're on your real account, right? Not paper, because I know the settings are different from
Yeah.
one to the next.
Yeah,
Okay.
scroll up a little. And let's see, you go all the way down, scroll down. Okay, yeah, I got exactly the same thing as you. Is it chart display maybe? No, you got the same thing too. Appearance? Okay, I do have interview and symbols, but I don't think that's really it. Solid color, custom. Yeah, we got the same thing. Trade. Classic, right? Yeah, I got the same thing. Huh. Any idea, Aaron or Ron?
Yeah, I'm still looking. I'm poking through because I've never had that issue on Weeble. It's worked from the get-go. I don't think I had to make any settings changes. But I just poked through the charts or the chart settings, and I don't see anything because it's going to be something about the appearance of the lines on different time frames. And I don't see anything. And you verified that I was looking while you guys were going through that, but whatever settings that are on Ange's, they're the same. And you
Yeah,
can take some screenshots. I mean, we got a couple more minutes if you want to take screenshots and send them in the chat. I'll look at them real quick.
I had the exact same thing as Ange has in these chart settings.
Okay.
While she was, while she was showing them, I'm just looking at mine too at the same time.
And so does each time frame or each intervals have different sets of lines, or does it start cutting it off at certain time frames? So like
Well,
if you
like
draw
yeah,
a
like
line on the 2 minute, you'll get it up to like the 1 hour, or what's that? How does that look?
let's see, let me draw a line.
And the quickest way, if we can't answer this, is always just to call Weeble. They'll pretty quick to tell you where this stuff is at, and then you could share it with us. Because I don't see anything standing out in front of me. I'm usually pretty good at finding that stuff, so.
Well, if I do it on the 1 minute or 2 minute, it stays with it the whole way through. I guess that's the secret. If I do it on the day, then when I back up, it's not there.
Are you sure? Are you just putting it so far out of your price zone that you can't see it? Maybe make it a super wide or make it a different color right on the current price.
Yeah,
So
that's
then when you zoom in, because I know when you do, you get a whole bunch of lines and they might, if you don't distinguish them, but I just made a brand new line on the day chart. I could even make it on the week and the month, all the different intervals that I have, and it shows up on the 2 and the 1 right at the current price. As close as I can. I just mark the top of it. So, but I've done that before. It was so far out of my range when I zoomed in on the 1 minute, I couldn't see it when I made it on the day chart, it's out of my range of seeing when I zoomed in on the 1 minute. So just verify that
I see what
that's
you're saying.
close to current price. 'Cause it seems like like I said, I don't remember having to set anything on
Oh,
Weeble.
that's what it is.
There you go.
Okay.
I think at least we figured it out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm sorry, what was the answer? I was Googling it.
Nothing. It sounded like he was outside of his range. So when he made a line on the day chart, it was too far out of his scope when he was zoomed in to the
Okay.
1 minute. So I had him put one right at the price line and change the color so he could distinguish the difference.
Yeah.
Because I do know once we do make a lot of lines on the 1 minute and you zoom out to the day, they get really concentrated. And I've lost lines before like that too. So it was we'll just call it a user error.
It
Love you,
happens
Ken.
though. Like I remember when I caught that for the first time too and realized that I was not in the scope of things. How annoying.
Yeah, good for everybody, right? Just that's this, things that we learn on as we go and stuff like that. So thanks for asking and
Yeah,
stuff.
thank you.
Well, and we do things that we haven't done for, we said it and forgot, right? We don't know how we did it, and we got to go back and figure out how we did it, because eventually, people are going to ask this same question again, right? So
Yeah,
you try
especially
to
when you're a
remember
boomer.
these things, but when you go, long time in between somebody asking something, you kind of forget what to do. Or the
It
community,
becomes
somebody's going to remember.
yeah, it becomes mundane for us all. So we are going to wind down for today, guys. I want to take just a quick minute to thank the moderators who come in here every day to show their support and come in here and help. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. So thank you for that. Also, thank you for Bruno, as he's been super patient with me. I'm sure he probably wants to pull his hair out sometimes, but especially so very thankful for him. And then obviously thank you to Coach for allowing me to lead the futures direction for American Dream Trading. I am very grateful for that, and I'm glad to be in this seat to be able to do so. And then lastly, but certainly not least, please all of you join the aftermarket show that will be in 1 hour with Dawn. She always has great info and always has wonderful people on there. Sometimes I'm able to pop in there, but then we've got Palm Coast, who always has a real good deep dive into personal development and the overall psychology of trading. He pops in there too. Mark does as well sometimes, and Aaron does as well. So show her some support over there at the Aftermarket Show on YouTube. And then lastly, Don has been working tirelessly at putting together, I'm pretty sure it's Don, all of the intros and outros for the futures videos that come out. So thank you so much for all that too. They've turned out wonderful. So as we're closing out here in the next couple seconds, the exit that Don created is awesome. So again, I thank all of you for coming in and supporting the futures side of American Dream Trading. For those of you who are going to trade tonight, I'll see you in the futures lounge. I'll be in there later on this evening, seeing what the market gives us, to see if there's some good scalping opportunities. Otherwise, I will see the rest of you guys in the morning. You guys all have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, Ange.